Happy September. It's like really crazy to me that it is September. This year has flown by. Yeah, it still is like high 80s here in Iowa, and that's really annoying to me because I just want to be in long sleeves. Like, I'm manifesting fall, but then also dying and sweating, so I can't win. Yeah, let's get started. So this is going to be an August reading recap, and my Hawaii mug. I went to Hawaii this summer. So let me get comfortable. I didn't read a ton in August. I read 9 books, which is good, but it's not what I typically do in August. I feel like we were busy, and it was definitely like end of summer. We have a 2-year-old, and he was just very busy and go, and has a lot of emotions. And so a lot of times by the time bedtime rolls around, which is around 7, I was just wanting to veg out on the couch. We're also watching Game of Thrones, and I've read all the books, but I've never watched the TV show. And then my husband wanted to watch it, and there's the new series coming out. There's also a new Lord of the Rings series coming out that we're really excited about. So we've been watching that. Game of Thrones at night is just a way to unwind, so my reading hasn't been that great. I read some really good books in August. Overall, August was a great month as far as quality of books, but there were also a couple flops. So I'm going to start with the flops, the books I just could have lived without. The very first one is an audiobook. It's Cobble Hill by Cecily Vaughn something. She wrote the Gossip Girl books. I got the book for free from Libro as an advanced listening copy, and I'm trying to like clear out my Libro. So it was just one I randomly picked it, whatever. It was terrible. I hated it. There was not a single good character. All the characters made terrible decisions. One person fakes a disability. It was just people behaving badly, but like they had no reason to. I couldn't even tell you what the book was about other than people behaving badly. And it was one of those where I was listening to it on audio as I was working, and I reached a point where I was like 60% in, and I'm like, I guess I'll just finish it and let it play as I'm working. I should have just DNF'd it, but because I was so far, I'm a completist, and so I had to complete it. The other book that was a flop for me was The Book Woman of Troublesome Creek. I think I gave it 2 stars. This is about the pack horse librarians in Kentucky. If you've read Giver of Stars, just read that. It's better. This one's interesting because it talks about the pack horse librarians, which was a WPA program in the 30s to get people reading, and women and like elderly men would deliver books in rural Appalachia, Kentucky, and it's a very remote area, dangerous, but they would deliver books to people. This one is different in that it talks about the blue-skinned people of Kentucky and how this girl, like, it's some blood disorder, and there was a whole like family line only in Kentucky that carried this where their skin was actually blue. And it's real. I went on a whole Google thing. So overall, I liked the concepts in this book. Giver of Stars was just more compelling, better written, and that's by Jojo Moyes. My problem with this book is the author like jumped around a lot and expected you to know things really quickly. And so a lot of times my issues were things weren't like connecting, or she'd gloss over something as if you knew it, but you would have done better by having more background into whatever she was talking about. And there were just scenes that seemed like very important in the book that she just glossed over or assumed we knew something. And like you had to kind of think about, like, there was a lot of stuff I wasn't following, and I felt like it would have done with even a better edit or more information in the book. Overall, it was okay. I read it for a book club, and we had a really great discussion about the book. It just was not my favorite book. I think Giver of Stars was a lot better. Okay, the next 3 books are books that I enjoyed. They were pretty middle of the road for me. They were 3 stars probably is what I would say. So the first one, actually I gave this one a higher rating, but like upon reflection, I gave it 4 stars, but like it's one that is important to read, but also wasn't probably my favorite of the month. So it's Last Night at the Telegraph Club by Malinda Lo. This is about a Chinese American teenager in San Francisco in the 50s. She is gay, is trying to figure out her identity, come out, but of course it's the 50s and that's not safe to do so. The thing that was really beautiful about this book was, one, it's about a time period, like a specific time period and area that isn't talked about a lot. Like, I can't think of a lot of books that have queer representation in the 50s, in a time before, like, obviously gay marriage wasn't legal till the 2000s, but just like the history leading up to that. And that's something that I do want to read more of. I want to read more queer history just because I think it's super interesting and it's important. And a lot of times we live in a world that likes to shove that stuff under the rug. So that's what I really enjoyed about this book. There was also some like communist history that was kind of, I understand its purpose in the book, but I thought it could have been either fleshed out more or removed from the book entirely. So this is a really enjoyable young adult historical fiction. It was the National Book Award winner, a Stonewall Book Award, Youth Literature Award for Asian Pacific, a Prince Award from the ALA. But yeah, really enjoyed this. We read it for a book club, my In Real Life book club. I also read Shipped, which was kind of forgettable. It's a rom-com about two competing coworkers. It was okay. Pretty closed door, which for me, I'm not a big closed door romance reader. I'd rather the door be wide open. And it was like it was what it was. I enjoyed it. Couldn't really tell you much about it. 3-star read, middle of the road. The other book that I read, and it was gonna be like a 4 or 5-star read until the very last line of the book, in which it became a like 3-star read, was Hide by Kirsten White. And this has been making the rounds everywhere. The cover's yellow with like a creepy little house amusement park thing, and it's these people that are all down on their luck, and they decide to enter a hide and seek competition in an abandoned amusement park. The only thing is they have to hide for 7 days, and then whoever wins gets $50,000. So the premise is cool. I'm all about creepy amusement parks, right? It was creepy. There were like so many good parts of this book, and then the ending, it just ended. And I'm like, there could have been 100 more pages fleshing out what was gonna happen next. Like, I felt like the book ended before the action began. I see why people either love or hate it. Like, it was just, the ending threw me. I literally was like, what? And then got mad because I loved the book so much. And it had a ton of characters, which is one thing a lot of people don't like about it. But I think that added to like the feel of the book. And like, some of the people were supposed to be unforgettable because some of the people die. It's horror. It just, that ending for me was really dumb. I hate to say it, but I hated the ending, and it would have been a 5-star read had it like fleshed out what happened then for the next 100 pages, and it didn't. Okay. You also know it's fall in my house because I can hear the high school marching band practicing from where I live, and that's where my husband and I met. And so I just love that is, we can hear the band that we met and play. It's just fun. I don't know if you can hear the drum line. Probably not, because it's pretty quiet even from where I'm at inside my house. But if I go outside, I can get like a full marching band practice listened to. So the rest of these books are going to be books that I loved from, like, they were amazing books for the month. The very first one, I read this with some friends, was Kakayi. Kakayi is a villain in the Ramayana, and it's an Indian myth that the author decided she was going to kind of just reimagine her story. And this book, so much happens. The pacing was a little weird at times, but overall, this was a fascinating story. If you liked Circe or Song of Achilles or Ariadne, I would recommend this book. I think it's just such a unique story that like a lot of us in at least my Western world never learned this story. And I'm even a history major who specialized in like Age of Exploration. I took classes on folklore, like never even heard this story. So I really liked this. I'm also impressed the author was in law school when she wrote this. And when I was in law school, I couldn't even like fathom writing a book. Like, I'm just blown away. The amount of reading and writing you have to do as a law student is amazing anyways. And the fact that she also came up with a book during that, like, wow. That's really impressive. And it's a fantastic look at that. So definitely recommend this if you're into retellings of like folklore or reimagining of important people. Another book I read, this is for the Modern Mrs. Darcy book club, was The Cartographers. And I freaking loved this book. It's about a girl who is a cartographer, a map maker. and so is her father. And she finds this like junk map, shows it to her father, and they have a falling out over it. And she's like, it's a junk map, like what the heck? They have a falling out. Fast forward a few years, her father's murdered. None of this is spoilery. And she's trying to unravel why, because this map is at the center of it, and it's like a cheap gas station map. And it goes between like present day and the past with a group of friends. There's some magical realism in it, which I love magical realism. And I just couldn't put it down. I absolutely adored this. Definitely recommend if you're into like history and maps and just kind of like world building that is clever and beautifully done. I just, yeah, loved it. And then I'm going to be doing a reading vlog of this, so I won't talk about it much, but it is Sarah MacLean's Heartbreaker. Friggin' 5 stars. Loved it. Oh my gosh. Such a fantastic addition to her world and her universe. It's a great romance novel. I'm not going to say much about it. Just read it if you like historical romance. Look for my vlog coming up next week. And then the final book that I read I listened to it on audio. It was an advanced listening copy from Libro again. It was Thank You for Listening by Julia Whelan. And it was wonderful. So Julia Whelan is an audiobook narrator and she's an author. She's one of my favorite audiobook narrators, and this book is about 2 audiobook narrators falling in love, but it also read as like a tell-all of the audiobook industry. So I learned so much about recording audiobooks in it. And then I recommend if you listen to it, then go listen to the What Should I Read Next episode where Anne Bogle interviews Julia Whelan, because Julia sounds so different in real life. Like, I couldn't get over it. Julia even spills like more tea of the audiobook industry in that podcast interview. It was such a romp. Like, I had so much fun listening to it. It's pretty steamy, so like know that, because I'm the person that will go through like a drive-through listening to a romance book, and the steamiest part is like when I'm dealing with a person through the window. It's always very awkward. And if you have kids with small ears, also be aware of that. But all in all, it was a fantastic book and I loved it. And I definitely recommend listening to it on audio. Don't read it, because like Julia Whelan is an audiobook narrator and she narrates her own book, and it is just a freaking treat. So that was probably my favorite book of the month because it was just such an experience to read. But all in all, I had a great month. I have big plans for September as far as reading. We'll see, big plans, lots of big books. We will see how much I get read. That's my wrap up. If you've read any of them, I'd love to know what you thought in the comments. And I cannot wait to do my Heartbreaker vlog, which will drop next Sunday. So thanks for listening, and be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and have a great day. Bye, guys.